Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at turbotax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at turbotax.com/beatyourprice.
They're back. Verizon Small Business Days are here, October 14th to the 20th. Meet with our experts, get one-on-one advice, a free tech check, and special offers, like a free 5G phone when you switch. Don't miss out. Call 1-800-483-4428 or go to verizon.com/smallbusiness. Offer available for select 5G phones. New device payment purchase agreement and select Biz Unlimited plan required. Credit applied over agreement term up to 36 months. Terms apply. Limited time offer.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, a Florida detective wisecracks his way through a case involving a severed arm, a missing con man, and a curse-spinning priestess. We'll talk about the dark comedy noir show Bad Monkey on Apple TV+. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hi, Kevin.
Are you my bad monkey?
Ew.
Oh, my.
What do you mean? There wasn't even a bad monkey
I
in the
didn't
show.
want to
There was a monkey, but was he bad? Nobody called him bad.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, we'll get into it.
Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, I'm the good monkey.
Oh, God, this is so weird. And finally, our captain of all things cynical, author of the City Trilogy of novels, host of Rip Current, Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, Toby Ball. Hi, Toby.
Hi, Rebecca.
So, Kevin, this is obviously Monday's program.
Obviously.
What's coming up on Thursday's show?
So on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the new podcast from Campside Media and Sony Entertainment. Is it Sony Music Entertainment? Or is it Sony Entertainment?
I think it's Sony Music Entertainment.
Sony Music Entertainment.
Yeah.
It's called Witnessed. It's the latest season of Witnessed, Night Shift.
All right. That will be an interesting conversation. So everybody, how are you? I just woke up, so I'm not really sure what's going on in the world. What I missed the last 2 hours? Kevin, did I miss anything?
What did you miss?
I was napping.
Well, you missed so much that was going on. We were talking about Laura is going to be skiing indoors in New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah. Toby's got a really cool T-shirt.
Class Action Park, Rebecca.
You're not going to Dubai to ski inside?
Not yet.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Next. I mean, if I can survive New Jersey, I can go to Dubai, maybe.
Is this one of those things where the lift ride is 30 seconds long and then you go?
I think so.
Yeah.
But it's real snow. So stay tuned.
Wow.
No one wants to ski in feathers.
Yeah.
You know, like a Hollywood.
Yeah. I think there are some sand dunes that you can ski on.
Yeah. There's a place in Virginia or somewhere down that way that has fake snow that supposedly replicates it. But I'm just really interested in what outfit I'm going to wear for this adventure.
That's what I was thinking.
You can go skiing and then you can go to Spencer's all in the same trip.
Is it in a mall?
It's in a mall.
Oh my God.
Go to Spencer's. How many metric tons of dildos do they have? And did Anthony Comstock keep a ledger?
Should you buy the edible underwear before or after you go skiing? I don't know.
I think after. Yeah. Before it might get sticky.
Don't go to Spencer's before you go skiing.
Yeah.
And then Orange Julius. I mean, there's so much to be done in New Jersey.
Is there really an Orange Julius there? Did you look that up?
No, I just made that up.
It's got to be one.
If there
I haven't seen an Orange Julius in ages.
If there were one, it would be in New Jersey in a mall. Wait, what mall is it? Do you know? Is the Paramus Mall?
It's near the Meadowlands or something. Yeah, it's bizarre.
It is quite bizarre.
Yeah.
What's more bizarre is that you live in New Hampshire and yet you're going to go skiing in a mall in New Jersey. That's even more bizarre.
Well, when you're dating a ski coach, sometimes you go on random trips when the snow is not here yet.
Got it. So this is a training exercise.
Yeah, I'm their guinea pig, basically. Here is Laura. If you can teach her to ski, you can teach anyone to ski.
Huh. I thought you knew how to ski.
Is he going to teach you how to do ski jumping?
I don't know if that's a good idea.
My friend who went to Holderness did ski jumping in high school.
Yeah.
Oh.
I always wonder, because Holderness does have that ski jumping program, and so does Philip Sandover. Like, how do you start? Like
you end up in the water.
But at some point, you're standing on top of, I'm sure it's a much smaller, but you are in fact standing on top of a ski jump the first time you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there's a first time.
Sure. And for a lot of people, it's the last time. For everything.
Yeah, I think they start on small ones and you end up like going into the water and to like get you sort of adjusted. And then I don't know for sure, but you must like work your way up. I don't think you start on the like 90-meter ski jump.
Yeah. It just seems like it would be so scary.
You land onto 15,000 pillows.
But you're not that high off the ground.
I
mean, I'm sure it's scary as hell, but you know, it's not like you're way, way up there. Like the entire time, it seems like you're like 10 feet above the ground until you land.
That's still pretty high.
It still looks pretty fucking terrifying. Like, I'm all set, man.
The way they film it on the Olympics, they film it from below, so it looks like they're 100 feet in the air when they jump off the ski jump. Yeah, but they're really not. I know.
Well, they just restored that ski jump somewhere in northern New Hampshire. I think Dan Toohey did a story on it.
Yeah.
At one point.
That may be in Holderness, actually.
It's way up north. I think it's in Milan.
Oh, really? How do you get there? What do you have to pass
You
to
gotta
get
go
there?
through. You got to go through Berlin.
Berlin. Yeah.
People are like, what do you mean Milan? Berlin? Don't you mean Berlin and Milan? That's the way those towns used to be pronounced.
Yeah.
But then World War I happened, and then we're like, fuck that. Now it's Berlin. Instead of Berlin, it's Berlin.
Yeah.
And Lebanon.
Was it World War I or World War II that we changed the pronunciation of the Italian city in northern New England?
Oh, and World War I it was.
Where is the Dunkin' Donuts up there, Kevin?
That's what I want to know.
Okay, so when you're coming in on Route 2, you're coming into Berlin. It's that main road before you hit the left that takes you to the old paper and pulp factory.
They used to smell, yeah.
And I think it's like right next like a laundromat. Oh, the laundromat I think is a brand name, but whatever. That's where it is.
Wow. Well, the very first
time you pass a couple on the way. You do pass, through Conway and Gorham.
Plymouth.
Because the prison's up there in Berlin too, so you got to get a Dunkin' Donuts if you're going to the prison.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember.
Which one? There's 2 prisons.
That's true. There's a federal prison and a state prison, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I remember the first time and only time I think I've ever been to Berlin is when I got engaged.
This
to
is
my
fucking
ex-husband.
fascinating. This is great content.
I know, it is. Let's just talk about this. We got engaged at the Balsams. Remember the Balsams?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's coming back, the Balsams.
I don't think it ever is. That guy's not going to finish it.
Come back.
No. All right. Anyway.
All right. Moving on.
Well, we have something that we're supposed to talk about that I know like some of us are really excited to talk about and others not so much. Should we get to it?
Do it.
No.
Let's drop that first clip right now. Leading off.
I can't do it, Ro. I'm technically not even a detective anymore.
We really have to do this dance.
Who's dancing? There's no dance. I'm suspended. How am I dancing?
No, it's the back and forth.
There's no back and forth.
My brother, you want your job back very badly, right?
Yes.
Well, I've got something in my car that the sheriff wants you to drive to Miami.
After fishermen reel in a severed arm off of Key West, demoted police detective Andrew Yancy grows suspicious of the victim's young widow and her mysterious new boyfriend. Yancy thinks Eve's husband Nick might not be the victim of a boating accident, especially as more people wind up dead.
No one will ever care that a piece of shit con man who is scamming insurance companies got what he deserved.
You've been poking around a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah, because I'm allowed to. You know why? I'm a cop. You're a food inspector. Leave it alone.
Meanwhile, the couple have been scooping up property and displacing residents on the nearby island of Andros. Neville approaches the sultry dragon queen to put a curse on the speculators who stole his shack. Yancy and Neville's stories become intertwined as the wisecracking detective wonders how far Eve will go to execute her plan.
Come on, babe. We're talking about people that can cause us trouble.
Let's say she did cause us trouble. What would you want me to do?
Why are you getting mad?
You saying I should hurt my daughter?
That's
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Bad Monkey from Apple TV Plus stars Vince Vaughn as the fleet-footed and silver-tongued Yancy. Based on Carl Hiaasen's bestseller, this part noir, part dark comedy features rat-a-tat dialogue and a host of quirky characters. Can Yancy get his badge back, straighten out his love life, thwart a crooked cop and the neighborhood real estate agent, and bring the scheming couple to justice? Spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about plot points from Bad Monkey. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So Laura, there's a narrator in this series, which isn't something we usually have to deal with. What are your thoughts about that?
Just not. So at first, my thoughts were, what the fuck is this? This is super annoying. And then I just kind of leaned into it and I'm like, you know what? This is like kind of like a Robert Parker novel being narrated out loud with kind of like this quirky, witty, short kind of narration. The only part I didn't really like with it was when he was like, well, now I'm going to confuse you. And I'm like, I don't like that he's talking directly to us like that.
Mendez wasn't the only one looking for revenge. Over in Andros, Egg didn't much like getting pistol whipped. Who does? This wasn't good news for Neville because Egg was much bigger than him. Anyway, it was time for Yancy and Rosa to get busy and not just solving the case. Ha! That was a good one.
It kind of added to this overall feeling of just this fun lark of a quirky crime story with a lot of just bizarre things happening. And you're like, oh, and here's the narrator. And he was kind of funny. The more I listened, the more I was like, I could start hearing it in my head. And then I started doing the narrator when the narrator wasn't happening.
For
and
your
I'm like,
own life?
And Yancy knew that the real estate agent was going to come back. So, and I'm like, oh God, I'm doing the narrator voice now. Why am I doing the narrator voice? So I don't know. It kind of grew on me. Or maybe it was subliminal messaging. I don't know.
And Laura went to get a coffee.
Yes.
So Kevin, Vince Vaughn, he's somebody that was around for a long time in pretty much everything. Not so much in everything anymore, but he's back in this. Thoughts?
Yeah, last time we reviewed Vince Vaughn was True Detective Season 2.
Yes.
Which truly sucked.
Yes.
Yes.
But I thought he was absolutely great in this. He sort of glides through the show with this super sharp dialogue. I found it to be very witty and not like anything else that we hear in other shows. This role seems like tailor-made for him.
Make sure you get the chowder. He uses russet potatoes and old condoms. Ha! Really? You flicking me off with the man bun guy?
Yeah, hey, I put it up for health code reasons.
Your place is a fucking rat trap. Why don't you get a cat?
Yeah, I have one right here, Francis. She's
yeah,
sweet.
then buy a tiger.
You can't get tigers in Florida, idiot.
There was a documentary about it, dumbass.
And I understand that some of the dialogue is improvised.
Always with him.
By him, yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely stuff that's on the page. And, you know, it draws from the source material. I haven't read this Carl Hiaasen book, but I imagine that the dialogue is probably similar, at least in the flavor. And so it gives it that snappy swingers feel. You know, if Jack Nicholson and Al Pacino tend to sort of play characters that are caricatures of their personas, then I think Vaughn's doing the same thing here, but he's doing it really, really well.
I don't think that Toby agrees with you. Toby, what are your thoughts about Vince Vaughn's performance in this series?
I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because I don't want to take issue with Kevin's take on it, but it seemed to me like he was sort of sight reading as he went along. Like there are guys, and I guess there's women too, but I think especially just some big male actors who basically just play themselves again and again in different roles, right? And I think the idea was that Vince Vaughn would do that, but he's so sort of flat, I think. And I think it's supposed to be laid back maybe, but it just seemed like he was just kind of reading things or trying to remember what he was supposed to say. Like I loved Swingers. It's like watching an athlete when they're 55 try and do the sport they were playing when they were 20. You know, they're just not.
This is the guy
quick.
with the blown out.
Yeah, exactly. I speak from experience. So I didn't like him, and I couldn't get past, once I first heard it, I was like, he doesn't know how to fucking laugh.
Oh.
Like every time he was supposed to laugh in that, it's like this, you know, it's like he makes these noises.
How was it, Toby?
I can't do it again. He makes these noises that are like similar to laughs, and he makes a facial expression that one might make when you're laughing, but you put it all together and it's not really a laugh. And he has to do it again and again and again. And part of it is I think Vince Vaughn just didn't find what was happening funny, and he couldn't force himself to do it. So anyway, that's my take on Vince Vaughn.
Okay, well, I'm not quite that far over to that side. I don't mind Vince Vaughn as much as you do in this, although I do not think he makes a convincing cop in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that he would have been hired as a cop. I don't think that he can run.
No, he certainly cannot run.
Yeah, I give you that one. He does look big and gangly.
And he has a stunt double like jump into the water at the end.
Yeah, when he's hanging onto the boat.
Yeah, well, even before that, when he like dives into the water, he dives like 2 feet off a thing. And it's like pretty clear that it's not actually him doing the diving because all the hair gets down in his face and stuff, so you can't see it. Anyway, I'll leave him alone.
Are you making a comment about his toupee?
He does have a toupee.
Yeah, well, I don't know. His stunt guy's toupee.
Yeah. So, but Laura, you're a Vaughn fan and you liked him in this, right?
I thought he was great in this. I found this to be like just fun. Like Kevin said, I was kind of wondering like, okay, how much of this is like ad-libbed? I loved the fact that he's a detective in the Florida Keys. We know I love Key West. I go to Key West. I was like looking at all the locations. There was a good balance between him doing kind of absurd things, like now he's the health inspector at the restaurants, to there's some more serious parts, to there were some sexy shower scenes with the crazy lady there in the beginning. It was fun. It was entertaining. I think if I was sitting next to him, I would stick a pen in my eye because I can talk a lot, but he can really talk a lot. But I just found it to be a really fun character. And it was like, at times I wanted to be annoyed by him, but I'm still rooting for him. And I loved all the side characters around him and all these little side random bizarre subplots that were connected to him.
Yeah. So, Kevin, there's actually 2 locations here, right? There's it's supposed to be Key West, and then there's supposed to be this, I think it's Bahamian Island, right? Of Andros.
Yes.
Do you think these 2 locations are executed well and used well in the series? And I'll just tell you, I don't. I don't think Key West feels and looks like Key West in this, and I don't think that this island feels and looks like an island in this. That's just my take on it. And I found myself feeling like, why the island? Like, why is that part of the story?
Well, okay, this is just my conjecture. I thought that Key West, having been to Key West for an afternoon, I could tell that this was shot there. And Laura has been there more than once, and I'm sure, you would recognize that.
I recognize some of the restaurants. I'm like, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I didn't see Irish Kevin's, but in any event, there's definitely trying to achieve a vibe. As far as Key West, to the extent it wants to capture that, they go so far as to really play up the wildlife and sort of the red lights and why you don't want the turtles walking the wrong way and not finding into the ocean. Those kinds of things I think rang true. I've never been to Andros.
Drinks on me. You fellas can help me figure out how to keep them from taking my home. You got any ideas?
I got one.
Besides peeing in gas tanks?
Then no.
But as far as why, what makes sense about it being there is because big part of the plot here is this land grab, and you couldn't do that in Florida. You couldn't buy up a whole bunch of fucking oceanfront property on the ill-gotten goods of your electric motor scooter scam, right? And I really had actually no frame of reference for how close this island was to the United States. And so to that extent, it does make it, an exotic location that's not so far flung. But, I think it works for what the plot needs it to be outside of the U.S., a place where they could take advantage of locals and bring in different quirky characters from on the island.
I actually looked it up because I was like, is this a real island? And I was like, oh, this is much bigger than Nassau and Grand Bahama Island and other places out there. And I think it did work because it was an interesting location. There was a lot of, for me, location porn. The thing that was interesting, though, was I felt like there was a very noticeable shift in sort of the tone of some of the scenes that were filmed there versus the Key West scenes. Definitely when there was scenes with the Dragon Queen, I felt like we shifted out of more of this sort of humorous, dark comedy into more of a drama sort of feel with her. It was definitely more serious and more intense. Even the scenes where she's out in the graveyard, and her grandmother is out in the graveyard. And I'm like, okay, this is a little bit not as lighthearted as the Key West scenes.
Well, you don't think somebody who helps someone to die for a living is lighthearted?
Well, yeah, because it wasn't done in a funny way. It wasn't I was like, oh
yes,
okay, well,
hilarious euthanasia, hilarious.
Yes.
But she's not really doing anything.
No?
That's the conceit sort of from the beginning, is that she's doing this, but she's somewhat of a charlatan in the sense that she doesn't really believe in the magic, or she isn't fully into it, and we're not supposed to believe that she's really, I know it's not voodoo, I know it's a different religion. But
was it Obia?
Yeah, it's Obia, thank you, yes. But we don't believe that she has some sort of supernatural powers, and it looks like she doesn't believe it either. She just knows that she's just taking advantage of people who want to pay her money to have their loved one who's dying die anyway.
You know who doesn't get taken advantage of by having their money taken are people in our Patreon, Kevin.
Oh my goodness.
My God.
Laura,
all right.
Way to transition us to the business section. Nicely done. Everyone's just hijacking your thing now, Kevin.
I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, me neither. Except for that when
I
Laura
thought you were
pointed
laying the
at me.
groundwork for it, Kevin.
Wow, I thought I was going there too, but all right.
All right.
Thank you, Dragon Queen Bricker. Okay. Well, if you do join us on Patreon, we promise that we won't kill your dying relatives, but we will give you exclusive content like the Crime Writers on After Show. This time on the After Show, Laura is going to regale us with the tale of her latest pet detective adventure. It involves a cat, a missing cat, and an octogenarian. And I'm just going to leave it there.
All right.
And a priest.
Oh, and a priest? Jesus,
Yeah.
this is like Bad
And a
Monkey.
rabbi.
This is like Exeter Bad Monkey.
Can we be paid in either expensive watches or monkeys?
Yes.
I go with monkeys. Actually, I would prefer the watch, especially if someone isn't using their arm anymore. That never really got explained, but that's okay. It's okay. We have other great podcasts that are exclusive to Patreon. They include Married with Podcast, our advice podcast, where Rebecca and I will tell you what you need to do with your life. And we have Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. The next episode that Toby's putting together, and everybody needs to start reading this book, it's called The Sullivanians. Who are the Sullivanians, Toby?
So it's sort of, I haven't read it yet, but it's either a cult or cult adjacent. It's a sort of commune that was in New York City in the 70s and maybe into the 80s that was run by this psychotherapist. And it has to do with like communal raising of kids. And I think it was sort of a bunch of sort of intellectual and arty types were part of it. Anyway, I don't know a ton about it because I haven't started reading it, but it's supposed to be pretty interesting.
We also have Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast. And in the latest episode, it's not monkeys that she's afraid of, it's rabbits. And it's not all the rabbit, it's not the rabbit's feet, it's the rabbit's nutsack. I was shocked to know that male rabbits had junk.
I mean, all male mammals have junk, but like apparently this junk was really, really astonishingly impressive.
It was just in my face.
Yeah.
How were you?
Not like that.
Just
Can you explain?
No, I was like
On
doing
purpose.
this interview and I leaned down to talk to the lady and she held the rabbit up and I went, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And we have a listener who sent some helpful information about rabbits and that they do need to be fixed.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like when you see a big male dog and it turns around like one of like a Rottweiler or something, and you're like, "Whoa!" You wasn't because it's not something you're used to seeing. Usually, animals get fixed, so it's just not you're not accustomed to that. Balls.
Yeah.
Balls, rabbit balls.
That sounds like a great deal for you to just sponsor us at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. Hey, other ways you can help us out here is you can like us and subscribe and interact with all our social medias. If you see our posts, fool the algorithm into thinking that like we're all connected and like really engaged. We actually kind of are. So, like, if you see our,
thinking we're a big fancy podcast.
Yeah, get us out. Well, let's open up our network here. So if you see us on Instagram, Facebook,
It sounds like a
YouTube.
LinkedIn post. I want to network with you all.
I wanna network with you all.
Expand my network and
I
connect
noticed
with
that your
you.
skill set matches our current openings.
Yes. And lastly, one other way you can help us out here is use our Amazon shop. When you go to Amazon, stop at our shop first, amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On.
I've
Thanks,
been
Jeff
updating
Bezos.
it with my stuff.
Yeah, on the next episode, we'll get all of our weekly recommendations on what to buy there. But that helps us out because we make commissions on qualified purchases. Doesn't add anything more to your bill. It just helps us continue to do great podcasting like this.
All right, Kevin, does thus end our business section?
This ends our business. Let me ask, Laura, is it okay? Can we stop now? We're good?
I guess we can get back to the show now, Kevin.
Yeah,
All right, well.
and Toby has nothing to add, so let's go ahead and end that business section right now.
Get more out of your vacation with Norwegian Cruise Line, where you have more to see, more to do, and more to enjoy. Book today and get up to $1,000 off all cruises, plus unlimited open bar and more with Norwegian's all-new More at Sea package. Visit ncl.com, call your travel advisor, or 1-888-NCL-CRUISE. Offer ends soon. Norwegian Cruise Line. Ships registry the Bahamas and USA. Restrictions apply.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Fall Sale and get 30% off paints and stains from October 11th through the 21st. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I came here to to make something of myself.
You want your name up in big, flashy lights.
Before Rosemary's Baby,
I chose you.
Evil was born.
They did something to me.
Starring Julia Garner.
I need to know what's happening.
And Diane Wiest.
This is a role that you were born to play. Baby's here to stay.
Apartment 7A, now streaming on Paramount Plus, or buy it on digital. Rated R.
So, Kevin, who's our next sponsor right now?
We're sponsored by Quince.
Oh, boy.
So we are kind of officially out of summer. We're into autumn. And now it's time to switch things up, move into a new season. And I think, we got to look right past Halloween. You got to start thinking about Thanksgiving and Christmas and cooler, crisper weather.
Yeah.
And that means you got to get your cashmere sweater from Quince, priced from $50.
Yes.
And Rebecca, have you been keeping them afloat with all of your sweaters you've been buying from Quince?
I've got a couple bookmarked right now, Kevin. Right now, my favorite is this very cute kind of cropped, sort of quasi off-the-shoulder one.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in a color called I think it's called strawberry cream. It also comes in a color called moss. And what's held me back, the only thing that's held me back is it wasn't the price, was which one to get. I love Quince so much. The quality of their cashmere for the price is incredible.
Well, I was going to say that, if you could just get all of them, maybe you should.
Well, thanks.
I'm thinking twice about that right now, actually. So, switching seasons is a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials.
Just go to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns.
Mm-hmm.
That's QUINCE.com/crime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime. Toby, Carl Hiaasen, the author. How familiar are you with Carl Hiaasen? Have you ever read any of his books?
I read one of his books a long time ago.
Which one?
Haven't the foggiest idea.
Okay.
It's one that's got a guy who's supposed to be like Geraldo that he makes fun of.
Oh, okay. What do you think of his writing?
It's not really my cup of tea. It's similar to the way this show was, right? It's kind of antic. You're not supposed to take it super seriously. There's a lot of kind of Florida type stuff, like Florida concerns that he kind of wedges in there that, it's kind of an interesting way of getting at sort of place in that he kind of brings these otherwise not very serious books, but he will bring up Florida issues. And you see that a little bit in this with the guy who's building that monstrous house next to Vince Vaughn with the lights that are going to freak out the baby turtles. I mean, once I watched the first episode, and then I guess before the second episode, I saw that it was from a book by Carl Hiaasen. I was like, okay, that definitely tracks.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck, I got 9 more episodes.
You can blame him for anything that you didn't care for, right?
That's right.
So Toby mentioned the big yellow house, Laura. That's obviously a big subplot. House is next to Vince Vaughn's. He sort of booby traps it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a climactic sort of ending. What were your thoughts about those kinds of subplots in the show?
So I was having a really fun time with all the subplots because I think my brain being kind of all over the place, a little more like ADHD, I was like, oh, zing, 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 something else is happening. And I loved this one because it was every time that guy came out and he's a super douchey character and there's a dead raccoon, now there's bees, now there's this, now he's throwing his phone out into the ocean so he can't get in there. And then it was kind of funny that in the end, it wasn't Vince Vaughn that did the house in. It was Crazy Bonnie when they refused to let her be held accountable for being a teacher, having sex with her student. So she's like, well, I've got to be held responsible. And so she goes and gets I don't know how many 30 gas cans or something crazy and blows up this house. And it just goes up like a 4th of July firework. I thought that was fun. And I thought there was also kind of an interesting sort of parallel because it's you've got Vince Vaughn and he's concerned about preserving his view and preserving his place on the ocean. And then you've got Neville and he's kind of got the same thing going on over in his island where he's trying to preserve his little piece of the island against the awful people next door. So I thought there was more in common between those two as you kind of thought about it.
I'll just say I didn't get that at all. I mean, this is the thing that really I didn't understand about the series from the very beginning. Well, first of all, I just want to say Michelle Monaghan is in it. She's the one who plays Bonnie. And I really like Michelle Monaghan. And I feel like she's really underused in this show.
Yeah.
Not as far as her screen time goes, as far as what she's actually given to do.
Another True Detective
Oh, really? Was she True Detective, Michelle Monaghan?
She was Woody Harrelson's wife.
That's
who
right.
Slept with Matthew McConaughey in a very unsatisfying sexual encounter.
Well, Matthew McConaughey's character wasn't exactly sexy in that role.
Time is a flat circle, and so's my penis.
He doesn't wear the deodorant, so I'm all set with that.
And at the very beginning, I think it's the end of the second episode or whatever, the narrator, he says, and that's where, you think you have two stories, but it's all part of one or whatever. And I'm like, I don't get it. And I never got it. The entire series, how they all kind of came together. I really didn't. I know that had to do with a couple, right? But Neville's story is not the same as Vince Vaughn's story. They're different stories. I mean, Laura, you just drew the closest correlation to it that I ever thought about in the show. But I kept being like, when are we supposed to have these two intersecting things? And maybe, I'm not dumb, but I just didn't think that it delivered on that promise. Did you?
He spent all that time on the island with him.
Right.
Of course the stories interact. And they have the evil couple is interacting between the two of them.
I understand that. They're the ones who merge the stories, not Vince Vaughn is the whole point, not Yancy.
I think you're really taking perhaps too literally what they're saying. Like you're expecting...
I guess what I'm saying is I didn't think that it was cleanly told in the way that it could have been, I guess is what I was trying to say. All right. I have a follow-up question.
I feel like you're going to say that if the narrator never said that, you would have been fine with the way these two stories intertwined.
I probably still would have been very confused.
You still... Okay.
I found myself very confused a lot of the time.
I don't think that's a you problem.
Maybe it is a me problem.
Because there's Neville watched that developer Christopher wade into shore. I'm hoping it's finally pretty clear. I wasn't telling two stories. I was telling one.
I also found myself really kind of taken aback by the Obia storyline, only because I don't really know a lot about it, right? Which is fine. I you watch a lot of things where something comes in and you're like, I want to learn about that. I don't know about that. But also, I'm not sure it's jarring to me for a show that has, a somewhat diverse cast to have its black characters just be cast here and there are no other black characters in the show. That's what I found a little bit difficult about it. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I don't think all of them were, but you had, like I said earlier, Gracie the Dragon Queen is an important character, and what she does is she is supposed to be this priestess. But, I thought at first is this isn't that, because really the point is that she knows that she, there's no such thing as magic in this world. And it's just, this is the way she is going to fit into the story as sort of this fixer or whatever. But then we get to the penultimate episode and there's this big confrontation with Gracie and Eve. And after she's been kind of doubting herself and she wants to get off the island and send this, this life behind her, she comes at Eve full Dragon Queen regalia with face paint and the whole I am the Dragon Queen, and I'm like, oh, okay. No, they're actually kind of leaning into the magic. And then she dies and she's doing appearances and I'm like, okay.
She was magic.
She was magic all along. Okay, I don't know how I feel about this now.
Give back the land you stole and get the fuck off my island! Your island? Mine to protect!
And if I don't, bitch?
The island will demand a sacrifice!
Look, narratively speaking, it makes sense. It provides her character a big finish in a story arc there. So, in the end, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And Laura, there were twists in the story. Did you find yourself surprised by the twists?
Well, so a lot of them, I would see something happen and I'd be like, oh, this is going to happen next. And then that did happen next.
Like the photo in the bar, like the Polaroid photo?
Yeah, as soon as the photo in the bar, I was like, oh, and then she's going on the plane. I'm like, oh, they've got the picture. They've got the picture.
Laura, as soon as they walked into the bar and that was the opening, it's got Polaroid photos all over it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's already a clue.
Yeah.
That's already the flashing neon arrow. So sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
Oh, no. So but I feel like there was a lot of scenes like that where you're like, oh, and then when she oh God, when the guy with one arm gets pushed off the dock, you're like, oh, there he goes,
All about Eve.
All about Eve. Oh, the only one I didn't see coming was Eve choking on the carrot. I thought that was a very creative way for her to die.
It is kind of a violent show. Look at all the things that you just described.
It was fun violent.
We have a man losing an arm. We have many, many deaths. We have murders. Toby, what did you think? Did the show strike a good balance? We talked about a show last week that was somewhat, mixed in its tone, sometimes light, sometimes dramatic, also very violent. But how do you think this show sort of strikes that balance?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is kind of like in that Scooby-Doo realm where it's hard to take anything super seriously. That being said, it's just a lot of violence, and like a guy like cutting his arm off as part of a scheme, and then he gets stabbed in the spine with a fishing pole, and
that part was awful.
The dragon queen like dies because she falls over backwards and impales herself on a stick that's sticking out of a tree. And there's a whole bunch of people who get killed, and nobody seems to really give a shit about it. It's usually a joke. It's like Heather with the weather. She gets killed and everybody's happy. And then you're supposed to see at the very end who chokes on the carrot. It's like, look at her. She's dying because she's choking. And then she fell over. And when she landed on the ground, the carrot popped out, but she was still dead.
And her dog was licking up the blood. The dog licking the blood was the part I was like, ugh.
So it's a little like, I don't know. Like, I don't really give a shit, to be quite honest, but it did seem as though it was pretty over the top with the violence, and there was pretty clearly zero consequence for any of it. And quite honestly, I mean, I don't know. It's like all the people that seem as though, except for the Dragon Queen, as though they kind of probably deserve to die in the world of this show are the ones who end up dying. So whatever.
You don't have to die to get yours, right?
I don't feel like you do. I also don't feel like you have to cut your arm off in order to like sell the fact that you may have drowned. There's just a lot of like sort of morgue humor. Yeah. And
literally,
there's like this weird, like they have sex on a morgue table, and the way they cover it up because it's the middle of the day is they just lock the door to the morgue. The whole thing is just fucking bananas.
What about when they ate the popsicles, Toby, out of the cooler with the
I would
hand?
do that, man. It's from
where else are you going to keep the popsicles?
Yeah, if you keep them anywhere else, they're just going to melt.
Kevin, the series wraps up fairly neatly, except for the fact that, people get killed, I think, when they don't need to. They could just, get theirs in a different way. What did you think about the way all the plot lines were wrapped up?
I think I would have liked to see maybe a more upbeat ending. I mean, I guess on the page it all sort of works out. I mean, like you said, Eve dies. Neville finds love. Bonnie is on the run, but she seems to be happy or whatever. Rosa leaves to go find herself. And it's sort of like Yancy, who doesn't have like a happy ending that befits his sort of light-hearted character. I am glad to see that they've, set the stage for a potential season 2. Apparently there is a second Yancy book out there. It's called Razor Girl, and if you look closely at the opening credits with all the, the sand figures on the beach that start melting away in the rain, one of the sand castle people has a book, and it's Razor Girl or whatever it is. But I just kind of was like, everything was so sort of like toe tapping, finger snapping all the way along. I was kind of like, I wish, but I mean, that was their choice to go that way. It wasn't a bad ending, but the only thing that I kind of was like, as far as, Laura, you're talking about things that you were predicting and but I was really, because the name of this is Bad Monkey. And I always kind of read it in my head like, well, the callback to this title is going to be that like the monkey's going to do something.
Like rip somebody's face off?
Yeah, or like grab a gun and accidentally pull the trigger and save them. And then the wisecrack is someone's going to go, bad monkey. But that never happened. I mean, I guess in the end, the monkey's holding on to the expensive watch, but it's not like the monkey stole it. It was Neville. That's the only thing. Like I was really wanting that
monkeys, just monkeys,
I was let down by that last episode. It ended and I said, that was it. And I'm like, it just felt like too neat. Like the rest of the series had so many like bizarre things happening and all sorts. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. And I'm like, oh, everything resolved in this very neat and tidy. I'm like, okay. So even the woman who was Pussy Magnet's girlfriend, who's now with the Russian mobster, like bought the yellow house next door and they're putting a tiny house. And I'm like everything just resolved so neatly. And then they're sitting in the chair at the end, Yancy and his partner, and they're like, what's in the car? And that's the end. And I'm like, that's it?
Like a Seinfeld episode would have, an A plot, a B plot, a C plot. And in the end, there's sort of some gag that brings all those plots together to resolve themselves. And I feel like in this one, there's a plot line with Rosa and a plot line with, his career and whatnot. And it felt like they just got resolved 1, 2, and 3, as opposed to like somehow like these all could have been sort of building towards some sort of interlocking.
So are you saying the stories didn't connect with each other as promised?
Oh.
Well,
Ooh,
they weren't separate
Rebecca.
storylines, Rebecca. Did Yancy not spend half of this series on that fucking island with Neville?
I guess it just didn't connect.
I
connected with so
it's fine
little.
if you didn't care for it. That's that's one thing. I'm just like
we took away different things.
I think you're hung up on a semantic thing here. That
Why was the monkey even in this? The monkey does nothing. The monkey drives no part of the plot. There's not even a detail.
He was cute.
Monkeys shouldn't be pets. That's the thing.
That's the thing that we're supposed to get out of this.
No, that's a thing. Monkeys should not be pets.
No.
Anyway.
He was a free-range monkey, though.
He wore a fucking diaper.
That's actually a pretty famous monkey in real life. That's Crystal the monkey.
Yeah?
Who's been in a whole bunch of stuff.
Like what?
Playing Drakes. Was in... Oh, fuck.
Backdraft?
No, wasn't in Backdraft.
No. Emergency?
No,
Nashville?
That monkey's 30 years old and has been like the high.
What?
Yeah, even Driggs, the character of that's the name of the monkey. That was the setup in the beginning. It was like this was like some Hollywood monkey that for some reason Neville has. But I guess whenever they need a monkey in something, they call Crystal the pin monkey, and Crystal does what Crystal needs to do.
The monkey does what a monkey's got to do.
Monkey see.
This, it was nothing. It was literally let people pick you up.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams fall sale and get 30% off paints and stains from October 11th through the 21st. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
There are some cases so infamous that we have all heard about them. But some of the coldest cases, the most mysterious, are the ones that you've never heard of before. I'm Ashley Flowers, and every Wednesday on my show, The Deck, I dive into the coldest of cold cases. Many of these victims didn't get the press coverage they deserved during the initial investigations, but I'm sharing what our reporting team has found on these stories in hopes that someone listening may have the information needed to bring answers to light. And that listener could be you. Listen to The Deck now wherever you get your podcasts.
It's time to have your high five moment with High Five Casino, the top social casino where the action and real prizes never stop. Fun spins and big wins are right at your fingertips with over 1,000 games, including High Five Casino exclusives. High Five Casino is always free to play with free coins given out every 4 hours. Sign up today for a free welcome offer that can get you spinning and winning right away. Visit highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Want to connect with a family member who doesn't speak your language? Then check out the language learning program Rosetta Stone on desktop or as an app. Rosetta Stone is designed to immerse you in the language you're learning through an intuitive process. Plus, the True Accent feature even gives you feedback on your pronunciation. And with a lifetime membership, you have access to all 25 offered languages. Get started today. Visit rosettastone.com/pod50 to get 50% off your lifetime membership now. That's rosettastone.com/pod50 for 50% off.
Okay, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know. Should they check out Bad Monkey on Apple TV+? Laura Bricker, I'm going to give you the honors of going first.
So I loved this. I know we're going to be a split panel on this one. This was one of the more fun shows that we have watched in a while. I actually started watching it before it was even time for me to do my homework and watched like 5 episodes of it in one night. It was like kind of a cross between like a hard-boiled detective novel with like this, washed up detective who's trying to kind of come back from something that has happened in his career. In one of my most favorite places, Key West, with all the quirkiness that Key West brings with the characters and some of the subplots in this. And, Vince Vaughn, he was very entertaining. I thought there was great characters. It was not something that you need to take super seriously. It was, for me, I was like, this is just kind of a fun thing to watch. I'm suspending belief about a lot of things in this because some of these things are so absurd that we know they would never happen in real life. But heck, it's a fun ride. So thumbs up for Bad Monkey.
Well, I'm going to tee Toby up and give my review now. I really did not connect with this at all. And I kept seeing people on social media talking about how much they liked it. And I knew Kevin really liked it. And I was like, I feel like I'm watching a completely different show than everybody else is watching. The way that everybody was describing it as being like, you know, noir and funny and whatever. I'm like, I don't feel any of those things. I'm just not connecting with it at all. And when I would try to connect with it, I just couldn't. And even though when I found out it was actually shot on location, I'm like, that might be so, but I don't feel like they're there. It all felt very TV set piece to me. It all felt very like, it almost felt like one of those things where you can sort of see the character pausing at the beginning of every scene. You almost see them starting moving at the beginning of every scene. It all just felt very kind of set up and artificial to me. And I just did not connect with it in any way, which was a bummer because I like some of the people who are in it. I do want to give a shout out to one performance. I did like Natalie Martinez, who played Rose. I thought she was really great. I'd love to see her in more stuff. But yeah, I didn't connect with this at all. So it's a thumbs down for me. Toby Ball.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything you said. You know, I'm a little surprised that it was all shot on location. Whenever we were in the Bahamian island, it always felt a little bit like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, it's like tight, right?
It was
like
just
indoors.
like this little, very small area in which they kind of maneuvered around in. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, except for the not taking it seriously part, I think I'm like sort of the opposite of Laura on just about everything she said. I thought Vince Vaughn wasn't very good. I didn't find him amusing. People who think this is noir, like I would love to hear the arguments to make this noir, because it didn't seem like it had anything to do with that other than a detective and maybe some drinks. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to a certain extent, I think I brought this up before. It's like asking me to like review tuna fish sandwiches, and I just fucking hate tuna fish sandwiches. So I'm never going to have one that I like. So if you throw like a show like this in front of me, it's just not for me. I don't like it. And there were specific reasons why I didn't like it. But even when I saw the preview, I was like, oh man, I hope this thing's only like 4 episodes long, because I know I'm not going to enjoy it. And it turned out it was 10 episodes long, and I was having to focus on it. So I had the Mets game on in the playoffs in the background silently as I watched this with the sound on, which did not help my buzz.
No.
So anyway.
Toby, you do have a log line for the show that I really enjoyed. Would you like to share that with everyone?
Yeah. I basically said if Jimmy Buffett was a detective show, which is how I knew that Laura was going to like it. Thumbs down.
Oh, Kevin, help me out here,
Kevin, thumbs up for thumbs down for Bad Monkey.
I'm a thumbs up. I really like this. I enjoyed Vince Vaughn's character. I mean, some of the better detectives in the genre have like very distinctive voices, from Philip Marlowe to Nick Carter to Fletch. And this is a little more like Fletch than Mike Hammer, but I really just thought he had this very effervescent kind of quirky detective character. Not quirky, but very hip. And I liked it. It was different. The mystery itself was compelling enough that I didn't know where it was going. And it had just a really great mix of characters. I was thoroughly entertained. I think that I would really love to see another season of this, because I could just, I guess what Toby's going to say is, instead of watching this, why don't I just pick up the book and read the dialogue instead of having Vince Vaughn improvise? Yeah, maybe, but I'm still enjoying this, and I would tell people that I think that you would too. Thumbs up.
All right, divisive review. I love it. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week. A British woman spent the last 48 years wondering why she never got an interview for her dream job. T.Z. Hodson mailed in her application to be a motorcycle stunt rider in 1976 and always wondered why she never got a call back. Now she knows. Her letter had been lost behind a drawer at the post office. A worker recently found it and sent it back to her. While she was crushed not to get the stunt writing job, Hiaasen soon moved to Africa, where she became a snake handler and horse whisperer. She then learned how to fly and became a stunt pilot. Hiaasen has no idea how the Post ever tracked her down in 2024, since she's lived at 50 plus other houses in 5 countries. The Royal Mail may have done a poor job delivering her letter, but they did a first-class job of returning it to sender. So, panel, here's my question for you. What other job application has been lost behind the furniture at the Royal Mail? What do you think, Laura Bricker?
This is pretty easy. It's the Postal Service custodian who would have been looking behind there and dusting and probably would have come across that.
Toby Ball, what other job application do you think has been lost behind furniture at the Royal Mail?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was probably an application to be the English soccer national team manager, since they haven't won anything since the year before I was born, which is 1966. It was a long time ago.
Kevin Flynn, what job application do you think has been lost behind furniture at the Royal Mail?
Yeah, it's Toby's job application to be script doctor on season 2 of Bad Monkey.
Oh. Is he going to ruin it like True Detective?
He's going to fix it. Well, he would have fixed it, but, you know.
It's going to be some guy driving a lawnmower.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, God.
Statute of limitations is far gone on that one. All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you and say, hey, I also liked Bad Monkey, you're not alone, how can they find you on social media?
They can find me at Laura Bricker on Twitter and Instagram.
What about you, Toby? How can you be found for those of us who want to reach out to you and say, yeah, I didn't like it either?
Yeah, don't even do that. I don't want to think about it anymore.
Try this
Toby
tuna
Ball,
sandwich.
NH.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm a Kevin P. Flynn.
If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On, but mostly you should join our incredible Facebook discussion group. It's a really fun time and very civil. Get episodes early and ad-free at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. You'll also get the Crime Writers On After Show, Toby Ball's Book Club, Laura's Leave It to Bricker, the Read-a-thon, all the stuff we make back there. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. Our line editor is the terrific Livy Burdett. The executive producer of this show is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also engaged in an escalating war with our neighbor over his ugly house ruining the wildlife. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later. Toby Ball, what other job application do you think has been lost behind furniture at the Royal Mail?
This is a tough one because I didn't read it beforehand. I'm having to think of something on the fly. And this requires a lot of thinking about British culture and such.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah.
How about a good writer for Bad Monkey?
Well, way to take my fucking
I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. Kevin Flynn, what job application do you think has been lost behind furniture at the Royal Mail?
Well, it was supposed to be Toby's application to be script doctor on season 2 of Bad Monkey.
You could just
but
say that
already...
we're cutting that whole part.
You cutting the whole part?
Yes, we're cutting the whole part.
Okay,
we're
I'll say
going
it again.
from Toby thing to Toby's
All right,
answer.
great. I can't wait for the big laugh I'm going to get now. Okay.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
It's going to, it's going to be like a Vince Vaughn laugh.
In crime media.
There are some cases so infamous that we have all heard about them. But some of the coldest cases, the most mysterious, are the ones that you've never heard of before. I'm Ashley Flowers, and every Wednesday on my show, The Deck, I dive into the coldest of cold cases. Many of these victims didn't get the press coverage they deserved during the initial investigations, but I'm sharing what our reporting team has found on these stories in hopes that someone listening may have the information needed to bring answers to light. And that listener could be you. Listen to The Deck now wherever you get your podcasts.